Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Friday with me, Mark, Kyle, and Imran. And this is the football show. I like that music, Kyle. It's awesome, man. Really, really good. How you guys doing? Welcome back
Doing
for
great, thank you.
a big Friday. Actually, who would have thought we would have got to the Kyle? Who would have thought we would have got to this part of the season and we'll be rubbing our hands a little bit. And but here we are. I'm headed into the final week of the season. How are things going with you two?
Nervy still, I think.
Nervy? Why?
I mean, it's still not over. I know it's everybody's writing off Liverpool now because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that City are going to win the league. But you never know with these things, and so I'm still holding out for the hope.
Come off of it, man. You've just had a fantastic, I would say a fantastic FA Cup. I don't know if you see it that way,
Of
but
course, of course. Trophy's a trophy. We needed those domestic cups.
So you've got a three-handle trophy. You've got a
Yep.
two-handle trophy now.
Yep.
So a proper trophy. So that's great, man. So we're looking forward to the final week, and we've got lots to talk through this evening. So wherever you are joining us, if you're joining us across YouTube or Facebook or Twitter on any of the guys' channels, welcome. Give us a shout. We'd love to see what your comments are, and thank you for watching with us today. So should we get straight to it then and see what's happening? First of all, we always like to mix, fantasy with reality here on the show. So we're always going to spend some time talking about the fantasy league. But this week, we're just going to have to zoom in a little bit on the top six, because look, this is it now. There's no more room for anybody else to punch into this. This is it, right? Unless somebody comes with a spectacular triple captain that nobody saw. So what do we think? Wayne Skeet is in pole position, really, going into the final week.
It's really interesting. Like Wayne, I think every week we analyze Wayne and Paul's teams. We seem to see the same things. Like Wayne has had a very good week, but his captain's let him down, and yet in the last 6 weeks he's just absolutely let up like he's flying. Like the gap at that top two, I think, is the biggest it's been in months. Like even though his captaincy choices have been like quite disappointing, like you would say, he's still like really, really dominant. It's really impressive.
I noticed that Paul went on holiday, and I think he took his eyes off the ball a little bit, because I get the impression that he hasn't been paying enough attention, because I would have expected him to have closed the gap over the last couple of double game weeks, and he hasn't. So I think he's let himself down, even though I was still backing him, and I'm going to go into the final game week saying he's going to pull it out the hat.
You really think we can close a 40 gap in the
40
last
point
week?
gap, man.
I think Wayne is desperate to win this because he's never won it before.
Yeah,
So,
fair enough.
I think he's going to be paying really close attention to his team this weekend, and it's great. Yeah. Well, look, Chicken Slayer has spotted it as well. So let me just put it here. We were asking the same question, if he's got some product placement this evening, or if he's Lewis Hamilton has put him up to it. So yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I think Wayne it's Wayne's to lose now, but I still feel Aaron has some say still left in it. But a shout out to the others in the top six as well. Well, you can go at Imran, because you're the only one that can chase them down.
It's actually like it's unfortunate for me because I've actually managed to close the gap.
You might still get second, You
Like,
The last few weeks I've closed I've closed in by 50 points, and if I timed that a bit better, or if I was in a better situation earlier on, then I would have been able to challenge for the title if I had timed it a bit better. But yeah, it's been a strong end to the season for me, and I'm hoping to clinch second.
I was. Go ahead, Kyle.
It's interesting in my position because I've invited quite a few friends to this league this season. I think like 3 of them are beating me, and it's a bit embarrassing. So
Don't invite them back next year.
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to Arjun City there in fourth, though, because like as we've been analysing over the last couple of weeks, in a big battle for fourth, and he's really taken advantage of these double game weeks. Like I think of everybody in the league, especially in like the top 10, I think he out of everybody took the most advantage. Like, I mean, you see in there like 2 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, there was 15 points separating fourth and eighth.
Yeah.
And now Arjun's got a 30-40 point gap on fifth. Like, it's timing. It really is.
Yeah.
Well done.
I'm going to shout out Christian because I think he's had a storming second half of the season ever since January. He's been really focused on, I'm going to chase down Imran. So, looking as though he's not going to finish too far off in a bad effort, but I think the top six is probably fairly set. You can probably still get second, Imran, unless Paul really messes up this weekend.
Yeah.
But what's 40 points in it with a good game week?
Exactly. It'd be actually a good sign of progress for me. Third last year. If I get second this year, we all know what's happening next year.
Well, I think Man United did that last season, and there was a lot of expectations.
We all know how that ended.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I think you two, Kyle, have been chasing after, trying to see if you can reach the top five. But I've cut up the middle bit a little bit because I think the top six is where it is now. So it would be storming if you can come back and get into that top four, actually, or top six even.
Yeah, I like. It's funny because you said a couple of weeks ago when I was stuck in 10th, 50 points off Paul Shannon, like, yeah, you're finishing in 10th, mate. And now I've taken 2 places. I'm in 8th, not even 9th. I'm in 8th, and I'm 20 points behind Danny Swain in 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can pull off that comeback, I'll be very, very impressed.
Aiming for the European, we might have to start a European fantasy league next year, given all of these people that are playing in the league. But look, I had a little bit of a momentary settlement in 16th, but I've dropped back down one place. But I am pretty satisfied where I am. I deserve to be where, as they say, the season doesn't lie. So I deserve to be where I am over the course of the season, 17th, and really struggling hard to see if I can at least finish above Stephen Hughes, who himself is also a former champion of this league, actually. But there are a couple of people down there in the bottom half who's let themselves down this season. People like Adam Bonham and John Myatt and Ryan Clark, Chesterfield Brown. They play every year. But it doesn't look as though this was a good season for them. So
I'm sure the excuses will come out later, but there's always I forgot to change my team.
My phone isn't working.
Stop playing in January.
So even though we slip out the bit in the middle because it's top half and bottom half now, Kyle, we'll come to you in a moment. But let's look at Wayne because again, as you said, Imran, he has failed on quite a few occasions now over the past couple of weeks with his captain. And, had that worked out for him, he would be miles ahead.
Yeah. And I think it's actually been a weird end for both Wayne and Paul because I don't think any of them have actually been outstanding. It's just that, like you said, Paul may have been forgetting about some of the game weeks and he's been pretty poor in terms of his scores, maybe getting below average or just about average. And Wayne hasn't hit the heights of what he has throughout the season. He's just been getting along with maybe 20 points above the average. And it's just took him there to the 40-point gap.
He's limping to the end.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Good enough.
I think we focus so much on the top 2 that we haven't really looked at Imran. But I'm not sure if Paul and Wayne have increased the gap on Imran since about game week 34.
Yeah, I've been gaining constantly, but a bit too little, too late.
If he had 2 more weeks, I reckon he would probably be.
That's how it goes.
But this is the guy who we think is likely to be champion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least you two think so. I still think I'm going to go.
Look at the Spurs trio as well, and you think that they have to play Norwich final game of the season.
I think everybody is going to go and try and captain Son this weekend. And it's going to be a bit of a mistake, but anyhow, that's too obvious, man. Come on.
But do you not think Son's going to go for his golden boot?
Yeah, he's still goal behind.
Well, we'll come on to that conversation because I'm sure that is probably making you very nervous.
A bit.
So I don't know Wayne Skeet, but I know he's played consistently well this year. So it was great to have him in the league, and hopefully if he does get crowned champion, we'll be able to get a photo that we can put on the screen next year when we are doing the league. If he, because sometimes these champions fall away, as you see. They come and compete hard one season and then they can't repeat it. But Paul Thorpe he's a double winning champion, so we will see how things progress.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hats off to him, to be fair, because I was taking a look. I quite like to have a look. But
Wayne's team?
No, I'd be overall standings to see how I'm doing worldwide, because some people are just insane. I'm 2.5k points. I'm how have you done that? What are you studying? Man? Do you not have any free time? But like Wayne is currently like before the last game week, he's I think in the top 380,000 worldwide.
Mhm.
So that is like, I mean, hats off to you there, mate, because that is ridiculous. So being the top 380,000, like I was taking I was taking a look at myself. Obviously, there's a big split between Imran and then just 4 off to everybody else. But I think Imran in our league is the cut-off point. So I think Imran is just about in the top million. And then I'm the cut-off point for the top 2 million, so I can take that because I think I think this week I crossed the 2,000 barrier in terms of points, so I can take that. It's like, what is it? Is it 40 points that Premier League like teams look for a successful season
for safety?
Yeah, that's me.
I mean,
yeah, 2,000
shows the quality of the league overall this year. I think our league's been ridiculously strong.
I think it's been probably the strongest year that I've seen since we've started doing it in 10 years or so. It's grown a lot, and I suppose we're going to have to really ask the question now about introducing a relegation in the league and a tier below for those who can't be bothered to make the effort every season. You know, well, you should be coming in this Premier League really and not making any effort. Make some effort, man. Come on, we got 27 players this season, but some of them haven't made any effort. They shouldn't really be coming back next year. But I'm not going to be too harsh. So, I mean, this doesn't happen very often.
Wow.
So I'll let you take it away, Kyle, because clearly you are making a plea for if you can get into that top 6, maybe.
Well, I have to say, though me and Imran have just gone and said it'd be a bit unlikely if, Paul Aaron is going to like reduce a 40-point gap. The average was 43 this week, and I've come out with 84 points. So, I mean, it's possible. Well, we're not saying it's impossible, but it's just unlikely. But yeah, I've had my eye on this for a couple of weeks. As I said in the last show, I took a points hit, and that points hit was for James Maddison. So, he scored in the previous game week, and he scored 2 goals he had a goal game week this week, and so he got a goal and an assist in the first game and a goal in the second game. So yeah, it was just pure. Yeah.
Is that your best captaincy of the season, you'd say?
It's got to be. Obviously, apart from that triple captain Mo Salah that everybody had. But, but I think nobody captained Maddison, man. Like, I mean, like, I was nervous because, as I've just mentioned, Dan Swain is quite in my sights, and because obviously when I brought in Maddison, what would now be 3 weeks ago, I was like, nobody's going to see this coming. No one's looking ahead and seeing 13th place Leicester as a threat. And then I looked at Dan Swain, and he had 3 Leicester players. I think he's got Maddison, Tielemans, and Barnes, I think it was. I can't remember. But the fact that he had 3 Leicester players was really scaring me because I thought I'd done something. But then he went and captained Salah. So, I've reduced that gap to like 20 points. So I've definitely got him in my sights now. I mean,
I like how you've very well constructed your argument about James Maddison, and you took a point hit and all that. What about Mason Mount, who I see is sitting there in the middle alongside Maddison? Did you take a point hit on him as well?
No, I mean, to be fair, I was concerned with because obviously Mount, as we all know, missed the crucial penalty on the FA Cup final, and I was already nervous enough to be playing what was it? I can't remember now. Goodness me! But whoever it was, I was already nervous enough because that was hard, man. I've been telling this to Imran, like 3 months, 2 finals, 2 penalty shootouts, 2 losses. That is so tough to take as a fan, let alone a player, man. Like seriously. And so to somehow bounce back from that, and at that point, I mean, I guess we had also secured top 4 after Arsenal annoyingly lost to Newcastle. I got Martinelli there with 1 point as well.
Well, I think the thing with Chelsea is you don't get to these finals very often. If you keep getting to them and losing, you
say that, but we've been to 4 FA Cup finals in the last 5 years.
Well, there's no guarantee that you're going to get back to another 4.
Gosh, it's so emotionally draining.
Now you got to win these things when you get there, man. Come on. So anyway, you scored us this week. Congrats.
That front line of the Crystal Palace duo.
The Palace players did really
man. Yeah, they did. Wow. I've had, and I was a bit iffy with. Are you and Mateta a bit weird? Because Mateta seems to be. He's one of the. It reminds me of Odegaard a bit, where he's really important to the team, but he's not really good FPL wise. If that makes sense. but like he does value a lot. And so I'm always like, oh, should I start him? Should I not? And IU tends to score more than him, but I just because they had a double game week against Everton and whoever else it was, I was like, yeah, you might as well. And it's clearly worked out. So I was in the top 10% in the world this week. So
wow, jeez, man, you've been really checking what's happening with your team this week. Fair enough, fair play. Well, look, it's awesome that you picked both me and Imran. It's about time, you know. So I think you just finished ahead of me there, Imran, as well.
Yeah.
You know,
it was a decent week, nothing to shout about, but still better than the top two again. And I think once again, I've said it in every show pretty much now. It stopped me from being a great week because of my captaincy choice, and that's Eddie Nketiah scoring I think 1 point because he got a yellow card. So with the
man, I'm feeling that.
So disappointing. I thought that Arsenal were gonna rise to the occasion and not bottle it, but lo and behold.
Oh, come off of it, man.
I mean, 70% possession for Newcastle against Arsenal, isn't it?
And then and then, but to be fair, my fringe players actually came in clutch because Salah and Van Dijk were both injured, and I wasn't really expecting much from Mateta. But as you say, he actually came good for once and managed to bag, was it 1 or 2, and got the bonus points as well. And then Harvey Barnes as well because of that big Leicester win. I managed to capitalise on that, and I think they pretty much carried me. Reece James as well, shout out to him because he played really well v Leicester.
And you've made the Monk mistake as well, eh?
Yep, I did that. I brought him in before the FA Cup final though. So
in all fairness, I think because as a lot of people I'm sure had to deal with, because the FA Cup final was like a day, not even 24 hours before the FPL deadline. Not only did we have Van Dijk, Salah, Trent, Robertson all just not play, but a lot of people do own Mount. So if we had 3 of those players, one of them would still be left on the pitch. So, with both of us, it happened to be Mount. I mean, it could very easily, it could have been for me. I don't know who else. I've had Robertson and Robbo and Trent on my bench because they got substituted, but could very easily have been there.
Well, the other blank in the middle of your team there, Imran, Raheem Sterling, has had quite an interesting season. A real up and down season, I think. I actually think it's probably his worst season at City, but I'll have to look at his numbers. It just feels as though he has not really been settled since the Euros. He didn't get a great start to the season. He had a good Euros, actually, one of the best England players in the Euros, but it felt as though when he went back to Man City that the whole debacle around what was happening with the squad kind of sidelined him a little bit, and then the arrival of Jack Grealish, it just felt as though Sterling's season hasn't really got going, even and we are getting week 37.
It's just one thing I'll never understand about Pep Guardiola sometimes. Like, it's so hard to predict, especially when it comes to players like Sterling or Jesus, because he'll start them for 4 games in a row and they'll score every game, but then you won't see him again for another 10 game weeks. It doesn't make any sense, his treatment of Sterling. Because I still think Sterling is one of the most underrated players in the league now, because a lot of people just dismiss him, but I still think he's got so much to offer in terms of his goal scoring.
No Liverpool bias there, right?
I mean, if anything, I should hate Sterling more. It shouldn't make me want to him, but I actually do feel he's still a very, very valuable player. And I think if City sell him to a Premier League rival this summer, whichever team gets him, I think Arsenal were rumoured to be interested. That'd be a great signing for them.
Man, if we can land him, I tell you what, that would be awesome.
Massive signing.
Yeah. But I don't think we'll get him.
Just before, I think it was between February and March, he was starting to bag a few more goals, Sterling. So I got him in because I've had him for a while now. And then, as I said, Pep just decided to not start him for the run-in, and he hasn't had a look in since.
Yeah, I just feel I'm disappointed with his season, actually, because normally in fantasy, in particular, he's one of those players that will be up there in that top 5 in terms of points and stuff, but it just doesn't feel as though it's been a good season for Sterling. So I'm kind of bringing up the rear with the 3 of us this week. A position, admittedly, that I've probably had more so than the 2 of you, but that's all right. I persisted with Son because, as I said, I think he's my guy. He's the guy in form. But didn't really do it for me in game week 37. Only delivered 6 points, and that is a complete failure for captain. I thought Ward-Prowse might have actually done something against Liverpool. Didn't do it for me. Lost out there as well. A little bit better in the back line. Dyer, who I've played now a couple of weeks because Spurs are suddenly looking very, very solid. and he came through. And Ketia really let me down because, but I guess this is the thing that sometimes you look at one player one week, like Kevin De Bruyne might score 4 goals, and then everybody rushing and get him, and next week he doesn't score for another 4 or 5, and felt as though Nketiah was having that type of last couple of weeks, but disappointed me in game week 37. So, but I persisted with Martinez in goal again for the back half of the season, and I feel as though that's been quite justified. But I only got 36 points in game week 37, so a little bit of a disappointment there for me, actually.
I think, to be fair, I think you won the debate, Rob, because you kept on looking at my Ramsdale and thinking that it was a mistake, and I think you were probably right in the end, but I just didn't have the funds or the free transfers to get him out.
Yeah, I to be honest, I mean, if we were going to do a piece on keepers, it would have been interesting because I think I would say that he's probably had maybe a 6.5 out of 10 season. I probably would want him to go higher, but I felt as though he let himself down in quite a few key games.
Yeah.
And Martinez is tending to be my keeper for a lot of fantasy, actually.
For at least 3
Do you wish
seasons now. What?
Do you wish that Arsenal had kept Martinez?
You know what? I get so disappointed when I think about that because I feel as though, man, this guy is actually very, very good.
Yeah.
How he never broke through ahead of looking back at Almunia and oh gosh, what's his name? Fabianski and Wojciech Szczesny. It's like, but actually, I think he's better than all of them. So it's disappointing. I wish we had. I really do because I think there's a real quality goalkeeper there, and he's playing well for Villa. So fair play to him, but he's gone, and we have to move on because we have Ramsdale, who, as I said, 6.5 out of 10 this season. But the Golden Boot race, man, where I know what you're gonna say, right, Imran? I know you're gonna say this is only heading in one place, right? But it doesn't look that way at the moment.
Yeah, well, it all depends on Salah might not start the last game.
I don't think he will.
Yeah,
he might come on, but I don't think he'll start.
Exactly. I don't think we'll risk it so close to a Champions League final. So in the end, it might actually be Son. If he manages to, if Spurs score early v Norwich, they won't be nervous, and I think they'll rain havoc on that goal. I think they'll score a good 4 or 5, and you'd back Son to be there. And I think, say if they're winning 3-0 and then they get a penalty, I think Kane will allow Son to take it because he knows.
I think Son is hungry this season, man.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's unfortunate for Salah if he misses out for injury, but you never know. Salah coming off the bench, he'll be hungry for it as well.
Especially, they are at Anfield as well. You got to remember because they're playing a very uninspired Wolves side who have nothing to fight for, and let's remember that Liverpool still have a title to contend for.
Yeah.
So, respect to Spurs because they are also fighting for.
Oh, don't give them any respect.
I mean, they are, I guess, both fighting for something. But when you putting it down to an individual, Salah versus Son, I guess Son does have that slight more incentive.
Well, Son will play 90 minutes and Salah won't. That's
100%. 100%. He's playing every minute of the game.
That's the favour towards Son. So yeah, we'll just have to see.
But I think going down the line, Cristiano came back to the league this season, and had not for those 18, as we said before, where would United be? I think he's had a good season actually. On reflection, can't fault the guy. Tremendous pro, really, really good.
And when he first came and United first went on their bad streak, you were thinking maybe it was a mistake, but I think second half of the season he's really shown what he's worth, and he can definitely lead the line going forward next season as well. I think if they get a striker that they can rotate him with as well, because obviously he does need to be rotated at 37 years old. So I think if they can manage his minutes, they can get the best out of Ronaldo, and I think they could be on for a very good season next year.
Do you think the guy that's next to him on 16 might decide, seeing as how the City have gone for Haaland, I might as well try and see if I can get to Old Trafford?
I don't think so with Ronaldo there. I mean, going to Old Trafford right now will be a step down because Spurs should have UCL.
Wow.
Champions League football.
United might not even get Europa League.
Conference League football. United in the Conference League. Can you imagine that?
Wow. Well, Harry Kane is making a late surge himself. I hear what you're saying about Son, but if Kane get 2 early goals against Norwich on Sunday, Son ain't getting no penalty.
He's not wrong, actually. He has scored like 5 goals in the game before, so you never know.
Yeah. And the race, I mean, we've only put the 2 there on 15, but I think De Bruyne is also in there, and it's like this whole race for the Golden Boot has been so interesting. I think Mane is probably one of my players of the season, actually, for just the way that he has, you know, the inspiration that he's given to the game, and how he has dragged Liverpool through quite a few delicate games, and what he did with the African Cup of Nations and coming back and going on another level. Sadly he missed on Sunday. He missed the penalty in the cup final, but I don't think that'll have any effect on him. The guy is a great player, man. Great player.
I think he stepped up when we needed him, because obviously
Yeah.
Salah's become a bit leggy, and that's what a good team does. When one player's faltering a bit, the other player steps up, and I think Mane will play a big factor in the Champions League final as well.
So if you had to call it, who are we going to see? They like to come out and pose with that little boot. Who do you think is going to be posing with the boot come next week?
Just out of hope, I'm still going to say Salah.
Man, hope. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I like good football. But I have to give it to Son. I think he's got the hunger, and he's only one goal behind. So
Kyle, you're the deciding vote.
I think if Salah gets more than 45 minutes of game time, it's Salah's to win.
Really?
I genuinely think so. I can't see, not even I just cannot, totally see Liverpool completely destroying Wolves over the weekend, man. Honestly, I can see a massive scoreline in that game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit too nervy for us to go smash him.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would be surprised,
Liverpool are not a team that crack under pressure, man.
True. I think we shouldn't rule out the fact that they could share the Golden Boot. It's happened before with Salah, Aubameyang, and Mane. Both of them could be holding that Golden Boot by the weekend.
Somebody on Facebook think it could be joint and shared. I don't know about that. I doubt it.
I don't see Son scoring just once, though. If he scores, I don't see him scoring just one.
I feel like Spurs, if they get an early goal and the pressure's off, they'll hammer Norwich.
What if Norwich win?
Are you saying that as an Arsenal fan as hope? You need a miracle to happen.
I had a look at the head-to-head, to be fair, and I think they've only won about 5 times against Spurs. Spurs have won 11 and 5 have been drawn, so you never know. But yeah, that has been a fascinating race this season, actually, and it's great. So Imran, look, over to you for the team of the week from Gameweek 37.
The last team of the week of the season, and I think it was a decent one. There was quite a few standout performances. I think starting from in goal, Fabianski. There wasn't a massive clear choice for the goalkeeper, but I think
great penalty save though.
Yeah, the last minute penalty save, which could keep Liverpool in the title race. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it was a great penalty save. And to be fair though, I never trust Mahrez with pens. Ever since he skied that one at Anfield, whenever he steps up, he looks nervous. I don't know why Kevin De Bruyne didn't take it. I don't know about you, but I did not fancy Mahrez there.
It's actually weird. I've never seen a player look so unconfident. I don't know whether he genuinely is or not, but I've never looked at Mahrez go up to take a penalty and think he's definitely going to put this in the back of the net. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. And then sometimes he's having a fantastic game, and then he'll get a penalty. He'll walk up to take it, and the nerves are all over his face. I don't get it.
I mean, Kevin De Bruyne's got one of the best ball striking in the league, so you'd put him on the pen. It doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. But yeah, so I think Fabianski deserves his place there for the save. Yeah. Looking at right back, Reece James, I think he was man of the match for Chelsea. He was the best player in that game. He created 4 chances and got the assist, the goal, the equaliser. Joel Matip, the winner, and a great performance without Virgil van Dijk. I think
unsung hero, man. Virgil, Matip is an unsung hero.
I agree, one of the best centre in the league, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say that without Van Dijk, next to Van Dijk, anyone could look good, but he was with Konate, young Ibu Konate, who's only 22. And they still formed a formidable partnership. I think they played really well. Joachim Andersen, I think he's had a very underrated season as well, actually. I think everybody says Conor Gallagher's been, or Elise has been Palace's best player this season, but I'd say Joachim Andersen has actually has a big shout for the best player for Palace this season. I think he's really solidified them a lot, and he was really good against Villa. I think he created 5 chances from centre back, which you don't see very often.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another signing that we actually haven't talked about at all, I don't think. In January, Matt Targett, because
he's kind of slipped under the radar actually.
Yeah, I think he's been really solid for Newcastle. They want to take him permanently, and I think Villa will let them because Villa now have Digne, and I think Targett's been really good for Newcastle since he's joined. And another great performance beat Arsenal. I think he pocketed Saka, if we're honest. I think Saka didn't have a look v him. All right, we'll move on quickly from that one. James Milner, we talked about him last
Oh
show.
man,
Wow.
I mean, we featured this guy last show, and Millie just
What
goes and does it
a
again.
game James Milner had,
He was
man.
actually in
That
a
was
position that he
unreal.
was unfamiliar with. He's playing in CDM. He doesn't usually play there, and still, I think within 30 minutes he had 5 chances created, which is just ridiculous how he's still doing it in the Premier League in 2022. And then he moved to right back and was still flawless.
Yep.
Bruno Guimaraes, probably January signing of the season.
Mhm.
Him and Diaz, he got the second goal v Arsenal, and I think he runs the midfield now for Newcastle. I think they've set up very nicely for the next few years with him.
They're going to be dangerous next season, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. And James Maddison, another underrated. I've been looking once I looked at the performances. I looked at their whole season, and I think he's actually had a very underrated season as well. I think
He has
11 goals, 7 assists this season.
Like,
is-
as I said 3 weeks ago, I was really debating between Maddison and Barnes, and it was annoying as well because I think when I looked, Barnes, you tend to look at minutes played when you're debating between two players of the same team, and I think Barnes had more minutes, but I just went with Maddison anyway, which I was like, please, because Swayno I think had Barnes in his team. And I was like, I really hope that that Maddison, because I think Barnes also scored in the first game. So when it came to the Chelsea game, I was a bit nervous. But Maddison has had a really good run of form for the whole season.
Yeah.
I think we've had this a couple of seasons now where he doesn't have a goal contribution for 2 or 3 games, and so everyone's like, oh, he's had a dip in form. He hasn't really had a dip in form. It's just that he hasn't had any goal contributions, and then he'll come out and do this.
I mean, the debate is always about the English attacking or creative players: Grealish, Foden, Smith Rowe, and Maddison. I think Maddison has actually had the best season out of all of them this year, because I don't think that a lot of them have had great seasons. If you look at it, who would you argue has had a better season than Maddison out of them lot?
I was about to say Foden, but Foden just plays in every other position, doesn't he? So.
Exactly. So if Foden's had an inconsistent season, but I don't think that's Foden's fault. I think that's Pep's fault.
Yeah.
So Maddison got 1 goal, 2 assists via Watford, and then got the goal via City. So looking at the front three now, Bowen, the brace that gave me hope. It was a great brace to say. You were never thinking that he was going to miss it. You always knew he was going to bag that when he was 1-on-1, and I think that may be due to Edison being poor at 1-on-1. But it was a very good performance from him. Whenever West Ham attacked, it was always through him on the transition. And I think he's once again another really underrated season. I think Carl's going to go on about that a bit later in the show because wow, what a player! And I think West Ham might struggle to keep hold of him.
They do.
If they don't get European football as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at the rest of the top two, Richarlison, which it pains me to say because I do not like the guy, but he's been the only one for Everton that has probably been semi-consistent for them, and he's got 2 goals in the last 2 games in games where they've been struggling a lot, and I think he stepped up to the mark when they needed him the most, and fair play to him. And then Barnes, another one. I think he's had an injury-plagued season, but still has got, I think, 15 goal contributions in the Premier League, and he chipped in with 2 goals v Watford and an assist. So yeah, another really good winger.
I think it's going to be a really peculiar season for Leicester in particular this summer, because I don't think they've had a good season at all, but they've got some really good shining stars there like Maddison and Barnes who, could be easily picked off. I think the squad needs a complete rebuild, and it's whether Brendan Rodgers will be given the funds to do that over the course of the summer. But it does feel as though they've had a bit of a lackluster season to me, Leicester.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think they put a lot into the Conference League, to be fair.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't often have a back-to-back manager of the week for the team of the week, but we've kept Antonio Conte this week.
I mean, it was a toss-up between him and Lampard, but I think when looking through the fixtures, I think there was a lot of open games because there was a lot of games that had no clean sheets and both teams scored. I think Conte, in the midst of, as we see Arsenal bottling it under pressure.
Stop it, man.
And Spurs put in a very professional performance v Burnley.
I don't know what happened to Arsenal, but
it's in your DNA, man.
I just cannot believe, Brighton, Southampton, Crystal Palace. That's where we lost this position with Chelsea. It's so frustrating, man.
I saw a graphic where Southampton hadn't won in 15 games, and there's one little bruise dot.
Play Arsenal.
Incredible.
Oh man, I was so disappointed. But fair play to the Spurs. I'm so glad I didn't watch that game as well because
Oh god.
it's just terrible. Look, so as we head to the end of the season, a couple of players are up for player of the season. Now we know where you're going to park your bus, Imran. We already know that, but as you look across those eight,
Mhm.
who would you say has been outstanding and definitely deserves to be your player of the season? You name yours, and then I'll tell you who I will go with.
First of all, I'd like to say that I don't actually agree with a lot of a few of the nominations.
Really?
Alisson should definitely be in there. I think. For this.
Oh, keepers don't get any nominations, man.
Exactly. If Alisson can't get into it this year, then no keeper will ever get into it because he's been outstanding this year.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I think the nominations are decent, and obviously I'm going to say Mo Salah because the fact that he's still he's had a poor few months and he's still top scorer and still top assister. And I think that speaks for how out of this world his first half of the season was. And I think his only close competitors could be really Son because, like Salah, but De Bruyne was inverted, so he took the first half of the season pretty much on holiday. He didn't do much, and the second half of the season he turned it on, whereas Salah was the opposite. So I'd say Son's his closest contender, but I think De Bruyne will get a lot of votes.
Okay, fair enough. And where would you put your vote, Carl?
I mean, I'm pretty similar, but I have to say, I think if I've tripped up with one player in my FPL season this season, it is James Ward-Prowse. Because I think it was game week 28 where I keep a watch list every season of players that I'm looking out for, and James Ward-Prowse was there, and I looked at his fixtures and I went, Southampton ain't going to do this, and then James Ward-Prowse, and I think he's gone. He went and scored 5 goals in 9 games, and I was like, because I was going to take him out for one of my Arsenal players, whether it was Saka or Martinelli, and I cling to both of them because Martinelli was in good form and Saka's just been your best player all season. So I definitely, if I had done that, I would undoubtedly be 7th. So that's my big regret. But yeah, you can't look past Mo Salah this season. It was probably the best season of his career, man. It's just sad that I mean, he's got the 2 English trophies to show for it, but it's sad that he didn't get that AFCON. And I mean, if he doesn't get Champions League or PL, then it'll be a bit gutting. But it's what a season he's having.
Well, I'm gonna give a special mention. When you don't want to give the trophy to somebody, you give them a bit of a special mention. I'll give a special mention to Bukayo Saka, who at the beginning of the season, when we were looking at players, we didn't really mention him as one of the young players to watch. But I think actually looking across Arsenal's season, the weight of carrying Arsenal this year has fallen to the likes of Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe. And I actually think Saka has stood up quite well. He's had an exceptional season in a team that really started very, very badly and rediscovered themselves middle of the season and is, kind of tailing off at the end. But I think he gets my special mention. But if I had to pick one, and I will, I can't go beyond Son. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I think, and I know it just pains me to say it. I think that he's
trophies this season already.
but I think Son has stepped up this season because a lot of Spurs season was hanging off of Harry Kane pushing on. And in reality, when you look at where they were at the beginning of the season, when people were saying, Son is going to Man City and all that, destabilizing the squad, I think the fact that Son has really stepped up and the guy just looks class, scores great goals. You can see there he's had 7 assists, scored 21, and I think he's going to push Salah all the way for the Golden Boot. So I would give him my vote because I think he has had to carry quite a heavy burden at Spurs. Compared to Salah, who's playing in a Rolls Royce team, so that's where I would put my vote. I think Son deserves it. There you go.
I have to ask, because I know Saka, I'm pretty sure he's come through your academy. Mm-hmm. How long do you think he's gonna stay at Arsenal? Because he's so rising so quickly that it's gonna be interesting to see if you keep him.
Yeah, I think unless we start to win things, we will lose young talent like both him and Smith-Rowe because as you know, Imran and I were having a rather robust debate recently about loyalty, talking about Steven Gerrard and Paul Scholes, etc. But I don't know. I think if we don't start to win stuff, these kids are gonna go where they can see the success and where they can get their hands on some trophies. So I'm sure. No, I'm not a Spurs fan in this, guys. All Arsenal, man, but I like good football, and you got to be fair. I think the guy has had a brilliant season. So I'm not going to hold it against him because he's playing in the wrong part of North London. You know that would not be good. So these two, you know, there are 5 people who are up for manager this season, and we have to say that they have taken the game to another level. Honestly, they've taken the game to another level, but. I would definitely give my vote to Klopp because I feel he's spent less. He's got a really cohesive unit in Liverpool. There are winning things. Pep has really only been brought to City to win the Champions League, and he's failed every season. And it is hurting him. And I think he's coming to a point now where he's also going to have to start refreshing the squad, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that
so
refresh
we say
happens.
this every season. Oh, Pep needs another rebuild, get another 300 million in the bank. Seriously. And then in the same breath, people say, "Oh man, Pep is such a better manager than Klopp." How? I can never understand how they're compared. I really can't.
Shake this it's ridiculous.
I have to ask though, especially as an Arsenal fan, because as a Chelsea fan, I think this is just my personal opinion. Both Liverpool-Chelsea games this season have been more tactical than either of the City-Liverpool games. It was some of the quality. I'm talking about the purely Premier League-wise, but I think it was 2-2 and 1-1. In my opinion, both of the games for Chelsea. Huh?
I wouldn't say that they've been more tactical. I think your style of play combats us better than City's style of play because City are still ultimately vulnerable when you get them on the break or when you actually go at them. But your philosophy v us is kind of sitting back and closing all the gaps, which is obviously a great game plan because it's worked and you outplayed us in a large parts of both games actually until the red card in the first game, to be fair. And in fairness, I'd say it's just more that as our play style conflicts more than City and Liverpool does.
Fair enough.
I think I'm still so bitter because of what happened at the Emirates against City. I just cannot bring myself to say anything else.
That was an absolute
disgrace. You can say it was a disgrace.
Unbelievable.
Factor in that Liverpool have been competing on all 4 fronts as well, and I've got all the way in all 4. I think it would go up with the amount of games we've been playing as well. I think we've played the maximum games possible, which is the first time it's happened.
Yeah. So I'm giving my vote to Klopp on this one. And I think he's probably very likely to win out in those states. But then we've got a couple others who are very, very worthy of their place in terms of manager of the season. When we were doing the SAT race earlier in the season, we had both Patrick Vieira and Thomas Frank on our SAT race, but they've made it through all the way.
Yep.
And I think Vieira has been a very, very good manager at Palace. And if you remember where they finished with Roy Hodgson last season, you couldn't really figure out where they were going to go next. But I think he's coming. He's settled his squad down. He's got them into his style and rhythm. The winning games, they're difficult to beat.
Yep.
And I think it's a real plus that he's been able to seal off the season at Palace because I really thought, is he going to make it? But he's done a fantastic job.
I think that's down to, because I don't even think based on statistics, in terms of wins, draws and losses, they've actually gone a step ahead, but they've been fairly similar to what they were under Roy. But the whole feel around the club, the players he's brought in, they've got a young, fresh squad, and the football they play is night and day compared to what Roy Hodgson was playing. And I think that's really injected life. And I think you're going to need to give him a couple of seasons to translate the good football into good results as well.
But that's always the challenge because you never know if they're going to get a good couple of seasons at Palace because the moment things start to go wrong, you do feel as though he'll be on his way.
Agreed. I think just the fact that his squad's young, a bit similar to Arteta, they're just going to trust the process and let the squad develop as the years go on.
I think they have to. I think it's important that they do that because otherwise the whole thing is going to just continue to be a little bit of a circus every couple of years with a new manager constantly, and it doesn't really work. A word on Eddie Howe.
I mean, I'd love to praise him, but
but
I think when you're given 100 million to spend in January, I think a lot of managers would be able to do what he's done. But I think what's unique is the fact that they've bought the right players, and he actually has managed to tactically tweak some of the players' roles. For example, Joe Linton's been reborn at centre mid. That's a great plus for him.
And where do you think they potentially could go next season with him?
I think depending on how much money they get, which will be a lot regardless, I hope they don't go to go to the top straight away, and they don't waste their money on unrealistic signings. They need to build slowly, bit by bit. And I think so far they've shown that they are willing to do that by getting, for example, Dan Burn from Brighton, which isn't a Hollywood signing, but it's a solid signing that will keep him in the league. So I think they should aim to go in steps, maybe like a 5-year plan to get to the top 4. And so they should be aiming for top half next season, I would say.
I'm not sure anybody has that kind of patience now, Imran, but it's great to hear that you think that.
That's what I said last show. To be fair, it's like every single time we get a new manager in any club, it's like, Klopp spent 5 years at Liverpool, and the first season they finished 9th. Was it 7th or 9th? You finished in Klopp's first season.
Was 7th.
And I mean, in 3 seasons later, he's in the Champions League final. So we have this conversation every time.
I think let's see how he gets on, but he will probably get quite a sizable budget to build a squad. And Newcastle is a difficult place, and whether they will attract players to the northeast of England is going to be the challenge. But if they've got money to spend, you never know, they just might. And Thomas Frank has kept Brentford up, stylishly.
Very, very good. I think out of these 3, he'd be my pick out of these 3 because the squad he's had to work with, and the system he plays, and the football he plays, and some of the results they've got have been incredible. And I really rate what he's done at Brentford this season. I think you're muted, Mark, in my ears.
Oh yeah, I can't hear you either.
We've got to talk about the heroes of the season. And there were quite a few, but we kind of landed on these 3. So who wants to take which one? I know which one I'm going to take. So
I'll take Ericsson, but you can start.
Well, I went for David De Gea, and probably a little bit controversial because I'm not really a United fan, but he's played 37 games this season, right? He finished 2nd last season. And if you combine the amount of saves, if you look at the number of saves and shots, he's right up there in the league. Yeah. And if you combine him and Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got the 2 players why United haven't been as bad. Only those 2, because I don't think there's anybody else. It is just those 2. This guy has been sensational between the sticks for United. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. There was a time when you felt as though, is he still going to be at United next season? But he's probably been player of the season now for about 3 seasons consecutively, which tells you all you need to know. So I think he's one of the heroes of the season, particularly because United has had a bad season, but he's had a good season.
I mean, you've got to make that point, especially because, again, it was the show just before City Liverpool. We were looking at United's goal difference, and they had a lower goal difference than a couple of the teams in the lower half of the table. And you're like, this is a team at the time that was fighting for the top 4. Mm-hmm. And it's since then, I think United are now on 1 as in terms of +1 goal difference, when before they were on -8, -9. And if you actually watch the games, goodness me, man, the amount of shots that this guy faces per game is ridiculous. Since that episode, United have lost 4-0 to Brighton, and they're still on +1 goal difference. It's just insane. It really is.
I think it's interesting that you picked him out, because I think amongst the United fan base, he's actually divided opinion quite a lot this season.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, I think a lot of United fans, and I see where they're coming from, think that to move forward, that De Gea needs to be sold because he's not a modern keeper. He's more.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I don't think he's very proficient with his feet, which affects their build-up. And I think his a problem which has always kind of been lingering is his command of the box. And I think there is occasions where I think he would be able to make saves if he was able to rush like Alisson or Edison and come out of the box a bit more. But I think on the line and reaction saves and things like that is his bread and butter.
But he's you can be playing up from the back well, but when you're playing in a side where your goal is being peppered, you better be able to shot stop, because that's what he's been doing for 3 seasons consecutively, because they're not good enough.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think once Ten Hag manages to to sort out the centre backs and the defence, I think De Gea will be the next to be moved on. And I think
I won't be surprised.
Yeah, I think we see it. I think there's a comment there for Spain. I think Xavi decided to move on with him because for the build-up and for the modern football, he's not suited to that type of football. I think the Brighton goalkeeper and I think it's the Atletico Bilbao goalkeeper has been chosen ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Interesting one though. So he's my hero. So who's your pick there?
I went with Christian Eriksen, which I think it's gone well under the radar. Christian Eriksen, I think he's single-handedly managed to keep up Brentford because I think they were on a trajectory to go down. I think their star strikers like Ivan Toney were struggling, and since he's come in, I don't think he's put in a bad performance.
So listen, I was having this argument with Christian because Christian says it's a sympathy vote. That's all it is. It's a sympathy vote. Mbama has got more assists than Eriksen. He's actually right. Eriksen has only got 4 assists this season, but he's been very visible, and I think he's had an excellent season actually, and I think from where he came from to come into the league, he has to be one of the heroes. Absolutely, even though some people won't agree because they think that we're overselling him because he hasn't he hasn't been the only person who's been contributed in that midfield for Brentford.
But he's been a class above once. If you watch Brentford, you'll see that he's a standout player for them, and I think he's really helped Ivan Toney. I think since Eriksen's arrived, Toney's doubled his goal tally. I think Toney was crying out for that creative presence in the Brentford team, and Eriksen's provided it for them.
Absolutely. And Kyle?
I've gone for Jared Bowen simply because when you were talking about the players of the season. I mean, I know I've mentioned this already, but I know this will be spoken about in the next coming weeks, and I know for a fact that this is a player that's going to go so far under the radar. Like this, whether or not West Ham manage to finish in Europa League places, which, by the way, I really, really hope they do. Both Bowen and I have to say Antonio. I did want to mention this in the team of the week.
Antonio's a waste of time, man.
No, I have to. No. This is a debate we've had as well.
Antonio's a waste of time. Honestly, he is.
He played really well against City, though.
I give you one game every 6.
I've been turning on Antonio this season as well, like that. I think he's way too inconsistent.
Exactly.
Well, I have to say, Jared Bowen though, this season has been a massive, massive force in West Ham. And obviously, every season with West Ham, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Declan Rice would play of the season," because I mean, there's not much that needs to be said for Declan Rice. But Bowen, for me, has definitely been an underrated hero in this West Ham side, whether it's with his goals, his assists, or just his general playmaking. I know I've said several times in this show, there's certain players that they're very, very good players, but they don't get many FPL points. Mm-hmm. Even when Bowen doesn't get FPL points, he's all over the pitch. It's insane the amount of work that he puts in. Yeah. And there are certain players that sometimes, you watch highlights sometimes, and you look at these players' energy, and you can't tell what minute the game's in. Andy Robertson's a perfect example where Robertson could be in the 97th minute of a game, and he's legging it down the pitch. It's ridiculous. But Bowen is really similar, where he's just got reservoirs of energy, and he's always whether it's attacking or defending. He's always he's the player you want in a team that just doesn't stop. He's totally committed to the team effort, and it's a performance this season that I definitely think is going to go under the radar, but doesn't deserve to.
Yeah, and it's a funny one because all 3 of them could be in different places at the beginning of the next season. You never know.
I honestly think Eriksen will be snapped up by a top 6 club. I think really is going for him because he'll be on a free. He's only on a 6-month contract.
Oh, I think he'll show some loyalty to Brentford. Actually, going back to your point about loyalty, I would be surprised if he moves, but you could understand if he does move, why he's gone. Right, so let's quickly talk about what your predictions were at the beginning of the season, because some of these look a little bit extravagant now in hindsight.
Let's focus on the good ones. I think.
So Kyle is on the left and you're on the right, Imran.
Yeah, and mine's on the right. Yeah, I should point that out. And I think the bottom 3, based on the results that happened, I think that I've got that spot on. Well,
no, you haven't.
I think he has.
You got 66%.
I think Leeds will beat Brentford, so I think Burnley could go down. So I think I might have got that spot on.
Man, I don't think Burnley are going down, man. But anyhow,
there are some pretty embarrassing ones there. I think Leeds,
Leeds 5 to 9.
Both of us, to be fair. I don't know.
Man United 3rd. Wow.
Yeah, but come on, I think everybody expected Man United
with
Ronaldo, Varane, and Sancho, but that obviously didn't happen. I think Putting Arsenal fourth, oof, so close. If they didn't bottle it, then yeah, it would have been there. But
That's the third time that you've said it now. All right. Okay.
hammer the point home. Did not predict Everton to be in the relegation scrap. I put them at mid-table, but wow, what a disappointing season for them.
I think my predictions are quite all over the place, to be fair. I mean, to be fair, like, I think we knew, like, by game week 2, we were like, yeah, Norwich are definitely getting relegated, aren't they? But as for Brighton are currently 10th at the moment, so that was a definite wild prediction. But I think, yeah, Leeds is the glaring in both of our predictions that is just... I don't even know why. Like, why? I don't
Leeds,
Leeds
look,
that high.
We said it in a couple of shows ago. If Leeds go down, it's down to Bielsa.
Yeah.
Because they've conceded too many goals. And you know, as attractive as it is, you know, after spending 16 years away from the top flight, you would really have thought that they would have learned their lesson.
Yeah.
Because going down and rebounding isn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
So they let themselves down badly, but it was very entertaining.
Way too chaotic football. They should have been more pragmatic with it. But yeah, I think he was a bit stubborn towards the end.
Yeah, they do.
I like this comment.
Give
Give the fans what. Oh my word!
Now that the football's over, I got full focus on the F1 soon.
Fair enough. So look, okay. We thought that it would be good to just focus across some of the other interesting bits away from the Golden Boot. So tackles and appearances and total touches and total crosses and assists. You know, I got a data coming out of your ears when it comes to football these days. But who stands out for you?
I think the fact that João Cancelo from left back is City's main orchestrator is something that Pep should get credit for. The way he's changed the game with that, and the top 3 are all City players, which shows the domination they have in games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going for the crosses, to be honest, both in terms of James Ward-Prowse and Trent. I mean, I'll just kind of annoyingly go back to the Champions League. It really shocked me, like, the first leg against Villarreal was really interesting to watch because I've never seen Trent be so snuffed out. It was really, because they recognise this guy is just ridiculous with his whips into the ball, man. It is insane. Like, as someone, anyone who's played football with me knows that I can't use my right foot. It's just something that can't happen. And yet, Trent, who is right-footed, uses his weak foot like he's left-footed. It's insane. And so Villarreal, like, they recognise this. And I think he only got like 2 or 3 crosses in a 90-minute game, but in the second leg they just completely ignored that. But like Trent's like balls into the box are just evident of why he's got 12 assists this season. To break, like, when you watch him, you understand why he's broken his own assist record 3 times in 3 seasons. Like, it's insane. And James Ward-Prowse, I mean, no one strikes a dead ball like he just does. Like, he's insane, man. He's a wonderful player to watch.
I think when I look across these, what is frustrating for me is the fact that as an Arsenal fan, I can't see us only, you know, the only place we appear here is appearances, right? We're not tackling. We're not in the top when it comes to tackles. We're not in the top when it comes to touches. We're not in the top when it comes to crosses. We're not in the top when it comes to assists. It's like, what's happening at Arsenal, man? Because the stats aren't going to lie over the course of a season, right? And it just feels as though actually how Arsenal ended up in that top 6. They've been quite fortunate, actually, quite fortunate, because we know where to be found in the key stats when you look across them.
I have to say, though, while he's here, and I can give credit to him, I've got quite a few people saying Mason Mount's had quite iffy season. But he's got 22 goal contributions this season. So while he's on the screen, I'm going to give that a little shout out.
Which teams has he got majority of those?
I mean, Imran, 22 goal contributions this season.
How many against the top
Norwich.
Norwich, Leeds,
Burnley, and Watford. That's when he turns it on.
I mean, to be fair, the amount of teams you've lost to in the last couple of weeks is unbelievable.
Well, we don't have a next 6 anymore because this is it. You know, final game of the season. Liverpool on 89, and look, Imran, you should feel quite pleased with where you've landed come the end of the season.
Of course, there was always that bit of uncertainty over summer because of how poor of a season we had, and with Van Dijk coming back and the centre back coming back, we didn't know if we would reach those levels. And Klopp produced a miracle again and showed why he's one of the best, because we're just straight back on it like nothing changed. Going to have hopefully a 92-point season. And well, time will tell. We'll see if Gerrard can do us a favour and get us that Premier League win. But yeah, I think I'm resigned to the fact that City will probably win it, but we still obviously got that Champions League final.
Let's hope he doesn't slip up there.
Yeah.
That's a low blow.
Totally uncalled for. I know. My apologies. What about you, Kyle? You've gotten away from us now, so carry on.
Yeah. Chelsea have had a really weird season. And if we kind of ignore the political distractions we had in the middle of the season, we had that really, really nice dominant spell between September and November, then just dropped. Both Liverpool and City overtook us like that. We had that draw to Liverpool. Both draws to Liverpool cost us in separate times of the season. Mm-hmm. The first draw made us drop points, and that was what led to the overtaking of both the top two teams. And then once we drew to Liverpool again, it kind of knocked both of us out of the title race. But we have had a really on and off season, if I'm going to be honest. It's not been one of those where we started well and then just dipped. It's been up, down, and it's annoying. I've said this several times this season, how Chelsea fans really, really quick to just hammer people. So the amount of people that watch Tuchel lose 2 cup finals and Tuchel's treble manager, he's got to go. And I'm like, what? I cannot understand the psyche of some Chelsea fans, man. To be like, this man he's got us to 2 finals and he's got us 3rd in the Premier League. He's got to go.
Well, if you don't want him, we'll have him cross North London, to be fair. But when you look at 63 points, actually that's a success for Arsenal. But when you look at those numbers compared to the amount of goals that both Chelsea and Liverpool are scoring, you can see the gulf between Arsenal and the others above us in the league. I think we had a poor start to the season, which was quite unsettling, but we recovered quite well. We recovered really well over the middle part of the season. But then I'll say it again, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton.
Yep.
Those are the 3 games that we really, and then of course in the last week we've had the North London Derby and Newcastle. We've just bottled it, so I've said it now.
I think
it's a reality.
I've come full circle.
That's the downside, and where you've been finding out of having a really young squad. I don't think a lot of them have the experience of this high intensity towards the end of the season.
Yeah,
and you really missed out by not getting a striker in January. I think that really killed you off.
Yeah, and like I said, has not given us any real return this season. And again, it's going to be a really interesting season for us to see who will be interested to come and play on a Thursday and a Sunday in the Europa League, which is a hard season, man. Yeah. So that I think is Arsenal's real downfall this season. But it's over to you, Imran, to win. So this is what the top 6 looks like going into the final weekend. United are still sitting 6, as bad as they are.
Yeah, which is a miracle.
It is.
I don't know how they're there, but yeah, I mean, look at their form. Even the form's awful right now. But I think
West Ham are only 2 points behind, though.
Yeah, West Ham have a chance to lead them. Who do I don't actually know who Manchester United play on the.
It's on the end. They're playing Crystal Palace. That's a tough game,
and I think they're away as well, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yes, they are.
So I think, but the main focus for this weekend will be 1st and 2nd, and 4th and 5th, and I think we can have more hope than Arsenal of a switch around happening, but I think both of us are just hanging on to a miracle.
I am going to hold out for a Norwich upset of Spurs this weekend.
They are home. So, last home game of the Premier League.
Yeah, they'll be back in 2 seasons though.
Yeah,
there will be. But this is probably where the action is likely to be as well this weekend. All the red L's down the bottom of the table. I actually think that 18-19-20 is how it's going to finish.
I think with Leeds, Leeds game's easy. I think Brentford will be easy to beat, and I think Newcastle.
You think Leeds will beat Brentford? Seriously?
I actually think, Brentford have absolutely nothing to play for, and they've guaranteed safety, of course, and Leeds will be all out to try and survive. Whereas the whole field, the atmosphere around Newcastle right now is very good, and the feeling is that they want to end the season on a strong note. So I think they will manage to get a result v Burnley.
I'm not sure about that.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
because
no matter what you think, there are definitely going to be goals in that Leeds game.
But I think
Yeah,
Leeds have lost too many players. That's part of their
that's
problem.
true. The red cards are an issue.
Yeah, they've got too many of their first team that they've lost going into
Right.
this final game of the season, and I think that I look, I can't see them overcoming Brentford. I will be surprised if they do. But the point you're making is a good one though. So look, there was a lot of celebration last night with Everton.
Yeah,
Invasion in the
That was
85th minute. Man.
incredible.
I was like, what is
the
this?
players that they've been booing for the whole season, they were now lifting up on top of their shoulders. It's
Honestly.
madness.
Wow. So you were saying then, Imran, that this is likely to be Burnley, Watford, Norwich.
Yeah, that's what I'd go for.
And what are you saying, Kyle?
I reckon it's Leeds, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think Leeds will go down.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going Leeds, Watford, Norwich as well. So we will be watching with great interest these final fixtures on Sunday. Last game of the season, and there's plenty there to get excited about, as we've said. So we'll be watching and looking forward to seeing where the trophy is going to end up. Yeah, I noticed. You said Liverpool are going to finish on 92 points. So City at home to Aston Villa, and Liverpool at home to Wolves. Both win. It's City's trophy.
Yep.
I have to say though that I know we have said in the last several shows about Wayne having 3 Spurs players, but Paul's got 2 Leicester players in his team, and they're playing Southampton. So if they can and they're at home as well. So if they can get a result there and a decent one at that,
You never know.
you never know.
That's all we keep saying. You never know. So that
We'll
is what the
see.
final table looks like as we head into the last games of the season. And this is the table. It's City to lose, superior goal difference, 1 game to play. It's all down to Steven Gerrard and whether or not he can do a favor to his side from
I have to
Liverpool.
say, look at that. Palace are sat there in 13th with a goal difference of +3. Like,
Well, they could actually finish what 10th if the results fall right for them.
oh yeah. Geez.
So if Palace beat United this weekend and West Ham get a win as well, West Ham will jump over
Yeah.
jump over
United in
United.
the Conference League.
No, I tell you what, they don't want that. They don't
Oh my
want
God.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, he would have played in every league in Europe.
Oh gosh.
We've got to give him the honor of that, surely.
Hmm.
Wow. So that is what the table looked like. And listen, it's been a fantastic. I think when did we start the show? Back end of the
Pre-season,
season.
yeah.
Yeah.
September, August.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. No, it's been fantastic being able to do the show with you guys this season. Somebody here shouting you up, Kyle. I don't know who that is. Master
Oh.
Lord 24 Vlogs. What's good, Kyle? There you go. But it's been great. It's been fantastic just being able to do the show with you guys. And we look forward to continuing with the football show next season. And of course, we'll be doing a preseason. And we'll be watching all the changes as they happen. So that is it from us and the football show. And we'll be watching on Sunday with great interest as the league comes to an end. So thank you all for watching, and we hope that you will continue to follow us across our various channels and continue to engage with the game that we all love and enjoy. So until next time, we are over and out.
Bye.